Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last podcast. Took a couple days off. Really took in the great week of sports that we have for the last couple days, and we'll get into a couple of those later on tonight, probably, potentially, maybe tomorrow. But today, I just wanted to get on and kind of rant, kind of talk about what happened in the NASCAR race yesterday. Obviously, was the finale, was the championship weekend for NASCAR. All three series went. Um, my predictions fell pretty flat. I did get Corey Heim to win the Truck Series, but both Connor Zilisch and William Byron, who were my picks for the Cup Series, did lose. So um, I guess I guess I'll just kind of cover. I guess this first slide was like what a mess. Um, I'll start with the Xfinity series. So not explicitly the Cup series, which um, same format, Final Four. The Truck series was almost as bad as the Big Two series. Obviously, Corey Heim overtime restart went from 10th to second, and then eventually won the race in 2 laps. That's incredible. He went 7 wide. Shouldn't need to do that to win a championship when you have 12 races, but I digress. The Xfinity Series race, conversely, was just, I say the final nail in the coffin for this playoff format, but really the final nail in the coffin was Sunday. But Saturday, the Xfinity Series race started at 5:30 Mountain Time. Really, there was really two cars all day that had a shot. It was Connor Zilisch and Justin Allgaier. Those are the two best cars all season. And then towards the end of the race, a couple weird cautions, a couple weird runs in distance, not really long, not really short. That gives eventually Jesse Love um, the lead and effectively the title, because the way that those cars drove on Saturday evening with the Xfinity cars, once you got clean air as the leader, you really couldn't catch them. And Connor Zilisch, I was watching, he's driving his wheels off. The guy had, I want to say 9 or 10 wins this season, had 20, 22 straight top fives, which is incredible. Had like a 8.7 average finish, and he lost based off of a one race sample size. And I'll touch on this a little bit later on when I'm talking about the Cup Series, but NASCAR's kind of thesis with this whole one race finale is, oh, it's a one race sample size, perform when the lights are brightest, and you win the title. And they fail that test on Sunday significantly, because I will give it to Jesse Love and RCR and the Xfinity Series team that won. They outperformed the two cars that they needed to outperform. Carson Quapple, the fourth car, really was never a factor. He ran in the teens all weekend. But Jesse Love he outplayed 3 of the 4 junior motorsports cars and performed when the lights are brightest. So in that way, NASCAR passed their own test. NASCAR passed their own message. And while it was a mess, because a driver that had 20 straight top fives, I want to say double digit wins out of like a 30, he won like a third of the races this year. And he doesn't win the title. That's just wrong. He would have won, if it was a full season points format, he would have won by about 300 points or about 6 or 7 races. So that's a joke. Connor Zilisch, I'll always think should have won that title. I'd kind of pencil his name in over Jesse Love. Not to take away from Jesse Love, because they did drive a great race. They performed when the lights are brightest. And in this format, which is hopefully going away next year, that's what you need to do. And I can't say that. I can't say NASCAR passed their own tests, passed their own format on Sunday. Um, just to preface, I'm not a Denny Hamlin fan. In fact, when I went to Las Vegas this a couple weeks ago and he won, I was livid. I was very annoyed and I was kind of honestly pissed off. I was happy for him because he finally got to 60 wins and he's the veteran of the sport. He's kind of the ambassador. He owns 2311 alongside Michael Jordan. He's kind of the voice to counter NASCAR. And while I don't like him on track on Sundays, I do find myself rooting for him on the weekdays. And Monday through Saturday, I like him. Sunday, I hate him. And I kind of came to grips with him this week. And I got to a point where I was like, all four of the drivers in the championship four, if they do win the title, they deserve it for the most part. And you can make a good argument for every single driver in there if they won the championship this weekend that they deserved it. Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Kyle Larson, and Denny Hamlin all deserved it. And it kind of goes back to the thing I just said, which is NASCAR's thing here with this format is you need to perform, you need to dominate, and you need to be the quickest car when the lights are brightest. And this weekend, Denny had the best car by far. It was about a 312 lap race. Denny led, I want to say, about 250 of those laps. He led like 5/6 of the race, and he still didn't win the title. And just, I'll touch on why he lost the title. So, leading the race, final run, nobody has anything for Denny Hamlin. The only other car in the field, aside from Ryan Blaney, who was a non-Final Four driver, was William Byron. And throughout this race, I'll just say the race was okay. The product was probably about a 6 out of 10 on raceability, on being able to pass. But the race just never felt flowy. It never felt like a car could really get out there without just. You never had the transition from short run to long run aside from the first run because everybody was just blowing tires left and right. And I could get into that. That's a whole other conversation of NASCAR pawning off responsibility onto Goodyear to push the tire to make the car drive a little different, to make the car actually put out a product that's entertaining. And that's a whole other issue. And that issue reared its head. That's the silliness that you get when you pawn off responsibility of your terrible car onto your tire manufacturer. And again, it's a whole other conversation, but that ruined this race. Denny Hamlin, final run, gets out to about a 2.5-second lead, 3 laps to go. William Byron in third place blows a tire. Nothing he could have done. It was just the nature of the tires this weekend. The tires, just to kind of give you an idea, the tires are supposed to last about 70 laps. That's what Goodyear would say. That's what Goodyear told NASCAR in the broadcast prior to the race. And obviously, I don't know exactly what they're doing to the tire or exactly what they did. But so they're supposed to last about 70 laps. And as the race went on, that just stopped. The first run went about 60 laps, tire blew on a car in the back of the pack. I'm not exactly sure who it was or remember who it was, but tire blew. You had tires blowing under caution just from riding around. And the way the tires behave, if you tried to push early in the run, like Denny Hamlin had the fastest car by far in the early run, he would hop out to about 2 seconds and then maintain over second place. And the problem is, if you tried to push too early in the run, and there's an argument that this is a good thing, if you tried to push too early in the run, About 30 laps later, your tire would just implode. And a lot of drivers were like forced to pit, specifically Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe was in the final four, and he actually had a pretty good car, but he blew a tire on Saturday and Friday. He blew just a mess of a weekend. And I think he blew 3 tires in Sunday's race. And it was just silly. It was every 5 seconds you'd see caution. Oh, there's a car with a tire down. Oh, there's a car with a tire down going under caution. And it was a mess objectively. Um, Denny Hamlin, 3 laps to go, has a 3.5, 4 second lead, and then William Byron blows a tire. So we go into NASCAR overtime, and NASCAR overtime, just I hate it because it reared its ugly head in 2016 when Carl Edwards should have won a title, and it screwed Carl Edwards out of a title, and it feels like a broken record at this point. Because it did ruin this race. It ruined this title objectively. And as much as I want to say, oh, Kyle Larson deserved the title, which I I'll just go back real quick. So going to NASCAR overtime, Kyle Larson, all four um, championship four drivers had issues today. Obviously, like I said, William Byron was the cleanest driver all day until the final 3 laps. When he blew a tire, got in the wall, race is essentially over at that point. He's never going to come back with 3 laps to go. Chase Briscoe blew 3 tires all day, and he would fight back, claw back, and then a tire would blow again because he pushed too hard to get back to that point, and the tire's nature just sucks. Kyle Larson, very similar to Chase Briscoe. In fact, I think they blew tires at the exact same time in the race with about 60, 70, maybe 100 to go. And Larson was mired back in 16th or 17th for the rest of the race. And while Briscoe could get back up there, Larson couldn't. So coming to the final restart, this overtime restart, Denny Hamlin pits from the lead, takes 4 tires. Kyle Larson pits from around 10th, takes 2. Certain cars stayed out. A couple cars took 2 tires alongside with Larson. And Hamlin got mired back in 10th place. Hamlin takes the bottom, effectively moving him up to 9th. Larson takes the top, effectively moving him to 6th. That puts 2 cars in between Hamlin and Larson. And this final restart, for those of you who don't know how NASCAR overtime works, it's you take the green, you go around a lap, you get your white flag, next flag ends the race. And I'll just say this is one of the greatest moves that I've ever seen. I'm not trying to take anything away from Kyle Larson. I'll get to why he is a deserving champion in a minute. But Larson just sends it around the outside, kind of trusts the car just to work on 2 tires. I want to say he sent it about 4 or 5 wide on the outside of turns 1 and 2. Hamlin was on the inside of that and kind of couldn't finish the corner because of that gaggle of cars on his outside. And Larson moved up to 3rd place on one corner, from 6th to 3rd place on one corner, and kind of just held that. And Hamlin, it's 2 laps. Hamlin couldn't do anything. And it's so gutting for Hamlin because he's been doing this for he has 60 wins under his belt, 20 seasons. He's one of the most experienced drivers in the sport. He's one of the ambassadors of the sport. And as much as I hate him, this one hurt for him because it felt like this was the time where he could finally kind of take a breath and win a title. And it just, you can make the argument that this is a format issue. You can make the argument that this is a one race finale issue, which it is. You can make an argument that it's the tires that ruined the race, which I would argue. But that hurt for him. That hurt I think the whole sport in general, it hurt the whole sport. It really just destroyed all credibility of the champion this year. And like I said earlier, you can make an argument for all four drivers being worthy champions, which I will argue for Kyle Larson in a second here. But you could make an argument for all four drivers to be the champion. But like I said with the Xfinity race earlier, NASCAR's metric was to make this a one race sample size. The best driver out of the final four in that one race in this Phoenix finale is supposed to win the champion. And Denny Hamlin had the best car. He dominated all day. The only car that could have competed with him was William Byron, and Byron blew a tire. Should have been Denny Hamlin's championship if not for the silliness of the tire and the silliness of NASCAR. But I'll get to why Larson is a worthy champion now, because as much as I can complain, the race is over. The name is etched on the trophy now. It's Kyle Larson's trophy. He's the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series champion, and I'll just say he didn't win since May. It wasn't flashy like his 2021 championship. It wasn't flashy like his 2022 season where he didn't win the championship but got snubbed. If it were a full season points format, Kyle Larson scored the most points all season. And I don't necessarily think that you need to have the most wins like Denny Hamlin did. Like, you need to lead the final lap of the season to be the title winner like Denny Hamlin should have. You don't necessarily need to do that. Kyle Larson made the move, and when the lights were brightest in that NASCAR overtime, he did perform. But as a whole, that race, Larson did not perform. And he kind of got handed it. Kudos to his crew chief and crew for getting him out where they did on pit road and making that gamble for two tires compared to Denny's four. But that was just a mess. And there's so much stuff going on in my head right now. And I don't want to take away because I am a Hendrick fan. I like Larson. I like Byron. Elliott's great as well. I think Elliott should have been in the final four too. If it was a final five, it should have been Elliott at that fifth car, in my opinion. But Larson winning the championship's not the end of the world for me. It's a little bit of a struggle to say you're a worthy champion when you haven't won since May. And I think early in about mid to late summer, everybody was kind of asking, where's Kyle Larson? And I guess you got your answer today or yesterday was, oh, he's still there. He's still a top four driver in the series. He's still a top four car in the series. He's not winning, but he's performing. I'll give it to him over the last six races, over the round of 12, round of 8. He was one of the best cars all year. Vegas, he was probably the best car. The Charlotte Roval, he was one of the best cars. Martinsville, he was good. Yeah, he performed well throughout the playoffs, and all you have to do in this playoff format is survive, and he did, and he put himself in the right spot at the right time, and he won the title. So, just going back, man. Oh, just what a yeah. The word I'll use is silly. What a silly way to end the NASCAR Cup Series season, because this was a great season in my opinion, and so much went right in the season, and then it all kind of came crumbling down at the end. I'll attribute most of it to the tires. I'll put part of it on the format, but the format's going away, so it's beating a dead horse there. But finally, this is the nail in the coffin. If the Xfinity Series race was closing the casket, this is the nail, because you can't put a format in still like this again where one race, one blown tire at on the and racing is a luck sport as well. As much as NASCAR wants to compare it to stick and ball sports, yeah, undefeated Patriots lost to like what 9-8 Giants, 9-7 Giants in the playoffs before. As much as NASCAR would like to make that comparison with Kyle Larson beating Denny Hamlin here, it's not. NASCAR is a luck sport as well, and the tire just didn't bounce Denny's way in this instance. And as much as it sucks for him to lose, I can't take it away from Kyle Larson winning because he scored the most points over the season. And as a proponent of the full season format that I am, I have to I kind of have to support that. And Denny losing sucks. It sucks for the sport. It sucks for the image. It sucks. But I kind of was rambling now at this point, and I don't know. Denny sucks. We're gonna move on to next year. Denny Hamlin obviously is suing NASCAR. I think it would have been an awesome optic for him to win the title and essentially walk into court in December suing NASCAR with the damn trophy. Um, I think it would have been an awesome optic. But man, just a sour taste in your mouth from this race, from this season now. Um, ugh, silly. But all right. So we will be back later potentially. Might touch on the World Series later, might touch on some football that happened. A lot of chaos going on in football, and all of our predictions that me and Diego made on last week's shows are out of the window and terrible now. So that is the show, and we'll move on tomorrow and tonight. So thank you for watching, and good night.